Andrew, thank you very much for accepting being with us here today and accepting to answer a few of the questions, which we hope that will help the potential clients that they want to buy windows for their houses and see if they can learn a few things and tips from your experience you had when you bought the windows and you created your beautiful house. The construction is quite stressful process. So when you were choosing the windows, what criteria you were putting first as a matter of priorities?
So I think undoubtedly our first priority was quality. We are very proud of our house and we wanted to have a quality of windows that reflected the house that we're going to live in. Cost undoubtedly was one of the considerations, but we also then wanted, in addition to the quality of the product, the quality of service, almost to your point about the stressfulness of going through a house rebuild, which undoubtedly does happen. We were looking to engage with a supplier that was reducing some of that stress and providing a quality of service in addition to a quality of product.
Many of people thinking that quality or pricing is the most important part, but we consider this is just a starting point. And therefore, I would like to ask, what are the other additional values that actually will bring or make the costs to be more valuable for the client?
Of course, the starting point, as you say, is quality of product and price. But I think you're then looking for a reputation of consistent delivery so that you as the customer can have a trust that what is being done will be completed. I would also say and this may seem a slightly strange way to phrase it, but a pride in the service being provided. If I look at the windows that are behind me, which I think are fantastic, but there were a few minor alterations needed as part of the fit, and of course that's going to happen, but there was never any problem with making sure that you came back to make those adjustments so that we were fully happy with the product and how it had been installed.
What values you actually found in the company AtoZ Design and Glass?
When we chose our Windows supplier, we did that in conjunction with both our architect and our builder that had worked with you previously and came with glowing recommendations about the quality of the product, but also the quality of the service to expect. And actually, throughout the whole project, we have been delighted. On time, on budget, where needed, communication's been fantastic. Of course, there are delivery dates, etc., that are going to be met. Where there were little frictions with that, they were always explained. So we have found that everything that we've expected has been exceeded.
Is there a moment that during this process you confirmed yourself that you've done the right decision?
I feel, and so part of this project was a ground floor extension. And the point at which these windows behind me went in then said, the house is now coming together. The extension has been built, the windows are in, this is where we are going to be living and operating from. Now, that is also not to undermine that actually the windows throughout are fantastic. We are delighted with the standard, whether it's bedroom windows, windows on the side at the front of the house, but I do feel that the sliding doors on the back of the house really brought everything together.
The sliding door basically is the one that brings you the more light and the light. How did you stand that actually the values we're gonna bring to you and to your property will be the right one?
Part of looking at the window supplier, and we went through a tender process of looking at, and in conjunction with our architect who was the contract manager, of setting out what did we want, what type of windows, what do we need throughout the house. We then looked at what are the costings for those. One of those, actually your pricing was incredibly competitive, but that wasn't the only consideration. It had to be the right price at the right quality. And actually, if I look at the quality of all of the windows, and there are different types throughout the house, they are all of exceptional quality. So the competitive pricing, of course, that's fantastic, but it's a combination of the competitive pricing with the quality of the product that was absolutely key to us.
What other tips you'll be able to give to anyone that wants to buy windows? At what specific details they should look when choosing the right window, the right door?
I mean, beyond me saying that they should come to you and have a discussion with you about what they want, I I think what they should be looking for is a feeling of course, understanding what is the price, what is the quality of those windows, but then I think looking at a track record of successful projects that where those have been provided, and simple things such as speaking to the end customers such as myself or others and saying how did what was their experience, and certainly my experience has been fantastic. There is nothing that I would improve on in the experience that I had with you.
So, shall I understand that the fact that we have this service when we're coming after the installation, when everyone is working and coming to check the windows, are they working, not? What we need is a good value that can bring to the clients.
It's a huge value add, and it also provides a real, I would say, a warmth of feeling, because you'd said it earlier, going through a rebuild is stressful. There's lots of moving parts where things can go slightly wrong, but actually having a supplier that genuinely cares about the quality of their product and making sure that the customer is satisfied with everything is hugely beneficial. And you're quite right. The follow-up service of making sure everything works exactly how it should, making minor little alterations because things will change over time, is just adds to the value that we've had from the service you've provided.
Will you recommend then AtoZ Design and Glass for any other clients?
I would recommend to anyone that is looking for new windows that they should come to you in the first instance. We have been delighted with the service throughout.
I'm super delighted actually to hear that. Is we always on the point where we have to balance the confidence on the product and the confidence we on the delivery, because it's always a case of wanting to improving more and more. So when you're thinking about maintenance, because you build it for yourself 10 years, 15 years down the line, at what service you'll be looking for a supplier to add in the value when you're looking for this period of time?
I would hope that we are intending to live here for a considerable period of time, so we are not going to need a, a window supplier in the near future. But if we did need, and we were, I would be coming directly to you in future.
I'm absolutely delighted of being on your project, and absolutely love what you've done, the project and the house, the windows. Of course, we're proud of the windows we can see. Yeah, and you actually being a really great client, because is as much as important for us the right clientele and the right person that actually can accept the value, so they can see the value and they actually a pride of those values, because some people just maybe the price or something else, and for us it's been also throughout a good experience of having you on board. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
And thank you for fantastic windows that we enjoy every day in our new home. We are delighted.
Looking at the bathroom and in the future, will you consider maybe like tips for the clients, because you have now an experience where we have the films over the existing windows? Would have been worth it paying a little bit extra for having an actual a sandblasted glass or matte glass already instead of doing the films?
I think if we did it in future, yes, is the answer. We would have. Now, I've also got to be very clear. The films have been installed to an exceptionally high standard. They are very effective, but I think from an aesthetic, personal point of view, I would have looked in more detail at what sort of glass options could we have used for the bathroom
For the
windows.
bathrooms windows, yeah. So in the future, then we'll also pay more attention and recommendation and actually impose the client to take a decision based on that.
And
So
and I understand. I mean, what I would say is we never specified or asked, and the film is very effective. But I think yes, I would have been undoubtedly been prepared to pay slightly more to get a product that, from a personal aesthetic point of view, would have been would have been slightly more appropriate.
What were the criteria and what was the specific moments that helped you to make the decision? Is the architect, is the contractor that recommended us to make the right decision?
I think that they are very important. I do not work in the building trade. Um, I like to think that I can quickly assimilate information, but there is a lot to take on a full rebuild of a house. And I feel that the recommendations from the architect and the contractor who have used a, a supplier, in particular a window supplier before, there is a level of trust that as the customer I'm going to take from them, and their recommendations do carry a lot of weight. And we undoubtedly were looking for them on guidance on who is the most appropriate supplier. Of course, it's not their decision, it's our decision as the customer, but their input does carry a lot of influence.
Influence. Sometimes it's happening during the process on different levels where the clients, they trust the architect, maybe not 100% with the contractor, maybe, during some stressful periods. For the clients that they don't have these very exact affirmations and, look, this is a recommended supplier, we use them because sometimes we face that some architects, they don't really want to recommend, or the contractor, they don't want to recommend. For those clients, then at what point they should look? If architect doesn't recommend, the contractor doesn't recommend, or they recommend different suppliers, what aspects should they take into account more, like check boxes?
Sure, and I think that the windows are integral to certainly to this house, and I would say for most rebuilds they are going to be integral. So actually, if they're not getting that guidance and recommendations from either the architect or the contractor, they're going to need to start thinking about it quite early in the project. They're going to need to consider price, understanding of quality of the product. They're going to have to go to suppliers such as yourself, who are probably going to have to explain to them about the quality of the product, because they may be lucky that they already know about quality of windows. It may be that it's educational as they're selecting the chosen supplier. I think then it's very much got to be looking at the supplier in previous projects and getting recommendations from those end customers that supplier has provided to before. Now, I know clearly I would give you a glowing recommendation, but I think it's understanding also, have those windows been supplied to similar projects that customer is looking for? And I think it will be very challenging without recommendations, but I would say undoubtedly, I would say come and speak to you, because I think you will guide that customer to the right decision for them. Each project is different, and the customer needs to get the right windows for their project.
We were always trying to say, look, let's sit down to discuss, because it's not always about price. And we faced it several times where we're giving a price, the client doesn't come back to discuss things, and they're choosing the cheapest supplier, and we actually find out they choose a total different profile, a totally different sort of quality, and of course they paid less, but it's not the same values and qualities they're getting. So in that aspect, because we're finding sometimes difficult to get the time of the clients to discuss with us, because we're trying to give, look, let's say windows, wood windows, they are soft windows, Merante windows, oak windows, hard windows. There are so many different prices, different opportunities. Is the weight, is the spring, but sometimes the clients that they don't want to go into these details. What advice you'll give them actually? Do they need to sit down with the supplier and actually discuss all details, or to choose the cheapest option?
I think undoubtedly to sit down with the supplier and have an expert explain what are the different options and why certain options, which potentially won't be the cheapest, are suitable to their home. Now, I would almost like, in life, of course, you can always find a cheaper option for something, but a bit like you may buy you may be able to buy a jumper from one shop on the high street that costs a couple of pounds and another shop where it can cost £100. Some of it is brand, but a lot of that will also be a quality difference. But actually trusting in the supplier to talk you through why a certain type of window will be the most suitable for your home, whether that be because of longevity of the product, the aesthetics of the product and how it's going to be installed. Price is a consideration, but it can't be the only consideration, because you then potentially end up with having a product that you are dissatisfied with in your own home.
You as a client, what you'll advise us as a suppliers? Should we send an email, make a phone call, or ask a meeting with the clients to discuss the quotation, or we just need to send the quotation to the client? What will be from your experience?
I think it's always going to depend slightly on the client, but I think predominantly a meeting with the client so that you can understand their expectations and what they want. Now, of course, someone can phone and explain that, someone can email and explain that, but that doesn't always necessarily explain the details behind what they're thinking. And by having a meeting, you as the provider can then understand what are the priorities for that client, what is it that they are most valuing in their procurement process. And so I would always say a meeting is preferable, although clearly there will be some instances where that wouldn't be appropriate.
So it's good to have a plan, a way of questioning what the clients actually is the main values they're looking for.
And I think by having a meeting, you can also explain your competence, your knowledge, your experience, which then allows the customer to understand there are options, but and they are available to them, but also utilizing your experience to provide recommendations to that customer.
Thank you very much. Actually, this gave us a very good idea on understanding on some of the processes we can improve, we can make them better. Yeah, so definitely I'll take this advice on board.
Thank you for everything. As I said, we are delighted with the windows and delighted with all of the service.
Thank you.